Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AMT Tech Trends podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing technology, research, and news. Today's episode is sponsored by the Manufacturing for Growth Conference. I am the Director of Technology, Benjamin Moses, and I'm here with...
Is that what MFG means?
Yeah.
Technology Analyst Steve.
Steve, welcome to 23, the year of smart glasses.
Triggered.
Tell me about your experience with... So you've had smart glasses for a while, wearable technology over your eyes.
Okay.
You were an early adopter of...
I was. Well, I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. And for the record, I'm pro smart glasses.
Sure.
I want smart glasses, these wearables. I want wearables to be successful.
Now,
I want wearables to work.
I need you to differentiate. These aren't AR glasses.
They're not AR glasses.
Okay.
Smart glasses, like the companies that make smart glasses openly admit that these aren't what you think. Like everybody who wants to, like who has thought about, like, I want to buy smart glasses, pictures, playing the game Ace Combat,
sure,
and wants like a HUD with like a whiskey mark to identify the heading as they're walking down the street,
right?
And whatever, and like in like the lower right hand corner, the time, your ground speed, your altitude, stuff like that. That's awesome. Like that's really cool. Everybody's like child mind that wants to buy smart glasses expects that. And then are super disappointed when they find out that no smart glasses do that. Not even the Google Glass, which was unsuccessful because you look like a total geek wearing those.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want smart glasses as a wearable to succeed. Sure. I want them to be successful.
Yep.
Long story short, they're not there yet. And yeah, I technically was an early adopter. I wasn't supposed to be. I bought my girlfriend, now fiance, a pair of Snapchat spectacles in either like 2016 or a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it, she's maybe used them once or twice. I've used them I bought them as like a birthday present for her, and I've definitely used them way more than she has.
Which is a good gift strategy for your significant other.
Yeah, but it's awful because Snapchat spectacles, like they have like two distinct styles. They have like a men's style, which look like Ray-Ban Wayfarers for shadowing, and they've got like these cat eye, very feminine sunglasses.
Which you did wear to the gun range once.
I have worn them to the gun range. I've worn them to a racetrack.
Yeah.
I've worn them underneath my visor and on my motorcycle helmet.
Yeah.
I've worn them more often than I'd like to admit.
Good.
But to be fair, they work. Snapchat spectacles work pretty well.
Yep.
They don't work well anymore because our pairs, like from 2016, and it's old now.
It's
and
deprecated.
like any wireless device, not wireless, any mobile device, its battery will degrade over time. And like anybody that's running a cell phone from 2016 or earlier today, you probably have 15 minutes of battery life from a full charge.
Also,
that's just something that happens.
Also good for you. I'm envious.
And good for you. Like we're not, I don't mean to sound like I'm knocking you at all, but naturally they don't have the best battery life anymore.
Yeah.
And also 2016 cameras, at least mobile device cameras, weren't the best.
Right.
So the resolution and image quality is acceptable, but it's not the best. I did really like that the Snapchat Spectacles camera, and these were camera glasses effectively. They didn't have a HUD. They weren't the smart glass like Google Lens or whatever it was called. It was just something where you put on these glasses. They look like, you think they look like sunglasses, but you hit a little button on them, and they can record 10 seconds of video.
That's
up
cool.
to 30 seconds if you hit the button 3 times in a row. And if you hold it, it takes like a picture, which sounds backwards, but it's the way to do it.
Sure.
That's all they did. That's all. And they had a 6-axis IMU. So like if you tilted your head, like the image would stay upright. And if you tilted your phone, the image would stay upright when you're viewing the video that you recorded. It was very cool. ahead of its time, and quality tech. Like Snapchat actually did a really good job making those, or whoever they contracted to make them for Snapchat, because that's a software company. It's a social media company. And frankly, they're deprecated these days, but I still use them. Fast forward to earlier this year, I was like, I really like Melissa's Snapchat spectacles, but they're old. I want higher resolution, and I want to see how far the tech has come.
Sure.
And I need a better battery.
Yeah.
So shopping around, there's not many options you have for smart glasses. Also, I was weighing them against wearing a GoPro, looking like one of those clowns that like straps a GoPro to their head or puts it on their helmet. Motorcyclists, by the way, can be pulled over for having a GoPro attached to your head. Apparently, it's against the law in several states, if not almost all states,
that's interesting,
to mount anything to your helmet. Okay. So you can be pulled over. It's one of those things that like police won't really pull you over, but it's if they need to throw the book at you for whatever reason, they'll add that on. Yeah. So I wanted, and I don't want to mess with I don't want to buy like a $300 camera and then have to spend another $300 on like mounts and stuff and experiment to see what works and then ultimately find out. And then it's just, I wanted the minimal head. Like we already have like this amazing mounting hardware called glasses.
And your ears.
To put, and your ears. Like it's like quick detached stuff for your face.
Right.
Wearables, man. Like this is where I'm pro wearables. Anyway, bought these things called Ray-Ban Stories. Ray-Ban's the brand, owned by Luxottica. Mm-hmm. So Luxottica, an Italian company, foreshadowing. I can say that, is in charge of making the electronics in these glasses.
That's unfortunate.
Italian electronics.
Quite the contradiction.
And then they've partnered with Meta or Facebook.
Yeah.
So you get all these features. So like, what are the added features on the Ray-Ban Stories compared to the Snapchat Spectacle? Higher resolution. The frame rate's not as good. So like the refresh rate on the camera. Snapchat Spectacles was like 60 frames a second.
That's nice.
It was really good. Facebook, well, the Ray-Ban Stories is like 30, which is still it's usable, but like it's lackluster.
Yeah.
The Ray-Ban Stories added speakers, so you could actually play music through your glasses, which was cool.
That's cool.
There was 2 cameras instead of 1, so you actually had depth perception in the image quality. They were voice activated.
That's handy.
So like if you wanted to keep your visor down, theoretically, if you wanted to keep your visor down, you had to say, "Hey, Facebook, start recording," which was like I got judged a lot. For saying like you still use Facebook.
So on paper,
okay, boomer.
On paper, these are solid incremental changes.
These are solid incremental changes. But the long story, they broke within 10 days. They didn't like break because I take care of my glasses, my sunglasses.
They didn't physically break.
They didn't physically break, but the foreshadowing from earlier, Italian electronics. They just didn't. I pulled them out of their like charging case.
Yep.
The light turns on and it just started blinking.
Before you get to that,
and I did a hard reset and nothing happened. They didn't start.
I do want you to mention the voice, because in manufacturing and in most of the industry, there was a big push for voice activation, voice recognition.
Yeah.
But tell me about your experience on the voice while you try to use your helmet.
Okay, so the voice activation was clearly calibrated for not wearing a motorcycle helmet. Because like walking around the office, if you wanted to record something, hey, Facebook, start recording. I really hope this isn't on my app, on my phone. Okay, I need to uninstall that. Hey, Facebook, start recording. And it would start recording the video.
Yep.
You could also do a software setting to change it from 30 seconds to 60 seconds. So like on Snapchat Spectacles, you had to hit the button 3 times if you wanted a 30-second video. You could actually set a default in Meta View, which was the app that controls it. Anyway, the voice activation worked when you weren't wearing a helmet.
Right.
Put the first time I decided to test it on the motorcycle, on the bike, put my helmet on, hit the road.
Yep.
Hey, Facebook, nothing.
Nothing.
And then I was like, okay, we're returning a $400 thing. And I did a little bit more testing in the office, like a nerd wearing my motorcycle helmet. I was like, how can we, like, do these actually not work when you're wearing a motorcycle helmet? And the visor has to be open all the way.
Yeah.
And I can't be moving for it to register, hey, Facebook, which is annoying because, like, if you're stopped with your visor open, just hit the button.
That's true.
Don't let anybody know that you still have a Facebook account.
And I think that's to your point earlier, foreshadowing some of the other technology hurdles. So, the AI or machine learning stuff used to say, hey, Facebook, record. At that level, putting it on a helmet is an environment where that's not programmed. That's something that doesn't exist in the training tool. So stretching it outside, it's in a trained environment is a big problem.
Yeah. And to be fair and to be nice, these glasses probably weren't calibrated to be used with a motorcycle helmet over them.
Sure.
One last final gripe before I get into the positives, which is only one.
Okay.
The fit and finish was terrible. So, because they were stuffing electronics into the arms of the glasses, each arm was a minimum of 2 pieces, and it was a mold. It was injection molded plastic. And anyway, mold lines on any plastic piece, if they're not finished very well, which Ray-Bans are supposed to be made in Italy and hand polished, these clearly weren't, because even though Exotica is an Italian company, it did say made in China on them. The mold line, putting the glasses on, like, stabbed my temples every time.
And that's rough.
I figured, like, if you wore these every day and, like, took them off and on however many times people take off and on their glasses, I'd probably have scarring, at least on my right temple. I didn't notice it on my left.
Sure.
Probably because I'm left-hand dominant, and I put that arm first, and then the right arm stabs my face. It was not smooth.
That's unfortunate.
And it had a very sharp mold line.
Before you get into positives, I'm still on the camp that wearables suck.
They do.
I have a Fitbit.
There's so much
people
potential.
Have smartwatches. It's just the one thing I needed to do. It's like almost there, and it just doesn't get me all the way. And like the fit and finish is never quite right compared to traditional equipment, and it's close, but it's for the early adopters that are trying to do something there. So I still wear a Fitbit to track my exercise, but other than that, I'll never wear a wearable. Like
the innovators and the technology developers of these wearables are like, oh my God, life can be made the world can be made a better place if we put these sensors on humans and like make their lives better.
Yeah.
The trouble is, you have to put technology on humans now, and that's where everything goes wrong.
Yep.
Steve, I'm pro wearables.
Hit me on the positive, and then we got transition.
Okay. The positive, the pair of glasses that I bought, because I ride my motorcycle in the day and at night.
Yep.
And I want to wear them at all times. I bought the pair with transitions lenses, photochromic lenses.
Yeah.
Metamaterial in the ink.
So you're living
in the dye that tints the lenses.
Yeah.
So I was one of those like nerds like in public school growing up that had that came in from recess and like they're like, why? Wait a minute, you're wearing sunglasses?
Yeah. Oh no, they're my normal glasses. They're just tinted right now.
Just give it a second.
And it's just. But like they react really slowly. So like when you'd come in from recess, they'd like take 3 school periods before they'd clear up again. And like if you go outside in the bright summer day or spring day, you'd be blinded by the sun. And then by the time the tint kicked in, and by the time your pupils had reacted to being blinded by the sun, you couldn't see because they were way too dark. And you were still recovering from being like flash banged by the sun. But anyway, the metamaterials, like that chemical reaction that's done by photochromic lenses, has advanced, and engineers and scientists have made that dye much better, and it works much faster these days, and it can get clearer and darker.
Nice.
It's come a long way, and I'm totally sold on them now.
Side note, it's weird when you observe that line versus welding shields and how fast those react and how efficient
they really
are. Oh, we'll talk about that.
Are those photochromic?
We'll talk about that another time.
Because I've put on like a welding mask before, and maybe it was just a cheap one.
Yeah.
Can't see a thing.
So
I get it that thing's like super bright, like bright enough to
Right.
blind you. Like if you smell toast, it means you're going blind.
Yeah.
It's supposed to protect you from that. But like,
Right.
how do you even see what you're doing before you're doing it?
So you always see the head flip, which is the
Yeah.
traditional style, right? So that's the static.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks so
shield.
cool when people do that.
Yeah.
You know they feel cool when they
yeah,
do it.
Yeah. But then if you look at the high-end shields, face masks, they're auto tinting.
That's cool.
So fun times. Steve,
Bless you, welders.
tell me about today's sponsor.
Today's sponsor, the MFG conference. Manufacturing continues to grow at a rapid rate. Stay ahead of the curve at the MFG meeting this April. The MFG meeting is the ultimate gathering of manufacturing technology minds, bringing together a community of solutions and solvers. Learn how to keep pace with growing demand, make lifelong connections, and see what opportunities lie on the horizon. Go to amtonline.org/events to register.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, MFG.
I'll be there.
What does MFG mean again?
Manufacturing for growth.
That's it.
Had me-
Nobody knows that at AMT, I promise
You
you.
put me on the spot there for a second.
Good job. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Test bed. You've got some stuff going on test bed.
Bro, okay. So on April 8th, that's a Saturday, I'm going on business travel during the weekend, but this is how much I love my job, to the Bay Area, Oakland, I think, for a robot block party.
Yep.
It's hosted by SVR, Silicon Valley Robotics, and they're having a block party with robots. And I'm really excited to be going there because, number one, for like the research that AMT does on the latest manufacturing technology, and in this case, robotic technology. But I'm also really excited because it's not often we at AMT, and you and I have, but the rest of our colleagues probably haven't.
Right.
We're going there with, a blank check because, we want to buy a robot for the test bed, which is why we're talking about this in the test bed topics.
Well, easy with the blank check, but yes, a check.
Okay, we got a little budget, and I mean little, but I'm still excited. Like maybe we'll buy something.
Yeah.
I really hope we'll buy something.
And the nice thing about that,
The last time we did this, we went to Quality Show with the same budget, and we were probably in the best case scenario short of the cheapest thing by like 2/3.
that was a disappointing show, but second, not being able to
That's
believe.
not nice.
I'm sorry.
Quality Show's great.
The show doesn't exist anymore.
It was great.
RAP.
Rip.
But the nice thing about the robot, obviously we could see for our purposes to buy test bed equipment, but seeing the latest companies and latest, because they are based in Silicon Valley, so you're going to see an intersection of the latest robotics and the latest software and
Probably the big companies too.
oh yeah,
That I
definitely.
can't afford.
Yeah,
We can't afford.
So it's for an event itself, being able to go there for a day and see and talk about the latest technology that are potentially coming up is a fantastic way to spend a weekend.
Yeah.
So cool.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Speaking of cutting edge technology,
This trip is sponsored by the Quality Show. Press F to pay respects.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, it's making waves, and naturally, last week I decided, you know what, I need to put up another LinkedIn post. Why don't I try my hand at ChatGPT, and being the snarky technology analyst at AMT that I am, I decided to go to ChatGPT and. Like I've seen so many like Twitter posts.
Yep.
Well, people have shared with me so many Twitter posts of like, writing love poems to their significant other using ChatGPT, and then like the spouse finds out that ChatGPT wrote it, and they're like, "I want a divorce." Like you had somebody else write this for it. It's like ChatGPT in a lot of cases is becoming Cyrano. That'll please a lot of humanities nerds. But I decided we've got a Pocket NC.
Yep.
Dear ChatGPT, write me a G-code program for a Pocket NC V2-10, Pentamachine Pocket NC V2-10 with 1-inch diameter Delrin bar stock and a 1/4-inch end mill. Make me a part.
Nice.
And
Nothing wrong with asking that.
nothing wrong with that. And its response was better than I anticipated.
Tell me more.
I expected to get here's a random program for a random part that you can make with what you gave me.
Like a search result type thing.
And instead, because it's ChatGPT and it's conversational. The reason why conversational works over OpenAI's Playground is because ChatGPT is taking the AI a step further, knowing that humans are dumb. And it's like, if we work through this conversationally, I can get you better results.
Yeah.
And it comes back to me. It's like, based off the following information, this is great, and I'd love to make you a G-code program, but I need some more information.
Wow.
How big do you want your part?
Yep.
What kind of part do you want? And asks a few more questions.
That's cool.
And it was just really good. And immediately was like, okay, I'm ending this conversation right now, taking a screenshot, I'm posting this on LinkedIn, and I'm like, Cam GPT question mark? And the feedback that I got from that post.
And that's where we want to talk about the feedback.
The feedback was extreme.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it because on one hand, I'll start with the positive feedback, the positive extreme. People are like, this is great. I hope you do a series of articles on this.
Sure.
I hope somebody actually tests this. And it was like, dude, we've got a test bed. We've got a machine sitting idle. You can bet your bottom that we're going to have ChatGPT make us some G-code files.
Yeah.
And I got really people are really want to see that. So I'm like, for the year, I've put everything else on hold, and we're doing Cam GPT first.
Great.
On the other side of the spectrum, they're like, and I get they're not being necessarily negative, but it's a little bit more critical in that they're like, this is gonna, dude, I'm telling you, this is going to lead to some extreme machine tool crashes. I hope you're recording.
They go straight to machine tool crashes.
And while I feel that,
Sure.
I get that, it's
Sure.
like, at the same time, I get it. I've never been a professional machinist.
Sure.
I've never had to make a quota of parts to ship the next day or next week, whatever. I've never had to ship anything,
Right.
physical. And like I don't have actual experience in the manufacturing industry as a machinist.
Right.
But at the same time, I wasn't born yesterday. I know enough about the manufacturing workflow
Right.
to know that even if a 15-year veteran or 20-year veteran CAM engineer hands a machinist a program,
Right.
These are the parts our customer wants, this is the program to make them.
Yep.
Run them. We need 100 parts by next week.
Yep.
They say something like that. The machinist isn't going to load stock material, like the expensive stock material and a brand new tool into the machine, upload the program and hit go and walk away.
Correct.
Go for their smoke break, make some memes on Instagram. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to run it in a simulator first to make sure that the engineer wasn't smoking crack.
Yep.
And then they're going once the simulation looks good, and if it doesn't, it goes back to the engineer.
Right.
And then it falls on them because if something goes wrong, if they don't deliver their parts,
Yep.
they don't want it to be on them.
Right.
So they're going to send that back to the engineer. If it passes the simulation, then they run an air cut.
Yep.
If nothing looks and while they're air cutting, you can bet your bottom that the machinist is hovering the e-stop the entire time.
Yep.
And maybe even slowing down the feed rate, doing a negative feed rate override and
Yep.
spindle override, stuff like that during the air cut. Air cut passes, everything looked Gucci. Then we put in some wax and a worn tool that's as close to the specs of the tool that we need
Sure.
to use.
Yep.
And we're going to cut a wax part.
Right.
Make sure everything looks good. More importantly, make sure everything sounds good. And again, hover the e-stop the entire time.
Yep.
And if that works, then okay, we'll try our first part with a new tool with the expensive material that the customer wants the part made
Yep.
out of. And if everything looks good, deliver the parts.
And that's the interesting part of when you.
They think I don't know that.
That's the interesting thing. So, observing that conversation, 'cause I saw the LinkedIn post and it was fantastic, and seeing the conversation afterwards, you see two diverse camps, and I think that kind of represents where we are in the manufacturing space. People that understand the workflow that you kind of walk through. It's all about risk reduction.
Yeah.
Right? You start with an idea, and the risk is I could break a $250,000 machine. Yes, that's a valid risk. But how do I reduce that risk? Even on something we do day in and day out, you still have risk of crashing that machine.
Yeah.
With still tons of GIFs and memes of people crashing the machines because they didn't reduce risk. Technology adoption is no difference, where we have a risk of, hey, it's a new thing to get me an end state, but how do I reduce that risk? Simulating and building your confidence to get there. And it's interesting to see the decisiveness in the online posting of that.
Right.
Yeah, there is a risk of crashing machine, but that risk is everything and everything
Yeah.
they do. So it was very fascinating to hear that argument.
Being a motorcyclist, I am not the most supportive of Tesla because there is a rampant issue of Teslas crashing into motorcyclists because they didn't see them.
Right.
This is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I still trust Tesla Autopilot over the fanciest Mercedes-Benz with all of the safety features and, a 6-axis IMU traction control and cornering ABS and all of this stuff. I still trust that more than some dingus driver who's on their phone.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I agree.
And just treat ChatGPT anyway, I'm more confident that I'm going to get a better program out of ChatGPT than myself, not a CAM engineer, by the way, using the, quote, easiest software ever to generate a manufacturing program. Like, I'm sorry, it's easier for me to use ChatGPT than Fission 720. That's supposed to be super easy, and it's like the easiest software ever. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Steve, let's get into some articles.
Yeah.
That was good. The first one I've got is interesting because it's the intersection of AI and 3D printing. So I'm going to continue the conversation. We're going to actually continue this conversation on these technologies a lot today.
This is great.
This is from azo.com.
Let me just, before you go on, let me just say that I love how much the perception, society's perception of AI has changed in recent months.
Like a month.
A month. Because like last year, everybody was throwing AI around as a buzzword. It's like, this new software uses AI. And now we actually know what AI is capable of.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you really have does this really use AI?
Yeah.
Or is this just some algorithm? Like, go on, I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right. So in the article, they cover a lot of different scenarios where they're implementing artificial intelligence or machine learning or different mathematical codes to help either improve 3D printing or make 3D printing more accessible. Some of the themes they hit on were remote detection for faults using AI, and that I want to jump on in a little bit. But the one I want to talk about right now real quick is AI-based printability checker. So if you've got a farm, if I have one printer,
okay,
how do you know if it's going to work? So, in everything I've seen on Reddit following hobbyist printing, I understand how industrial printing works. You walking you through a scenario, there's a lot of simulations, a lot of risk reduction in that process. Hobby printing is like, I got a boat, I'm going to print it, and then they just hope for the best. Reducing their risk in those environments, I think, is an interesting approach. So, what they're doing is being able to theorize the capability of the printing machine and what's needed from the object.
Gotcha.
And matching based on that, set. So basically, improving the thought process as this print will work. So I thought that was good. That's useful in most spaces. The other one I wanted to hit on was, that's actually back here, the AI remote detection for faults with AI. So in situ printing.
Yeah.
So as you're printing a part, right, porosity is always a concern, or thermal deviation is always a concern, or thermal compensation, if you want to phrase it positively. So as you're printing a part, right, being able to understand, is it going to be a good part? What do I need to do in the machine as I'm printing to make sure I can reduce porosity or adjust the print direction so I can compensate for the thermal deviation. So I thought that was kind of interesting when they talk about those two main scenarios where, 3D printing has come a long way.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
On some scenarios, it's hit production environments. It's still adding value. We've talked about why you want it, what part to choose, and the operational efficiency for gas flows is a big one. So 3D printing still has a ways to go where it can add value to most designs, but the gap to getting a good part over and over again and the qualification requirements, there's still hurdles to get there, right? So I think, a couple of these bullets that the article hits on helps reduce those risks and reduce the cost for entry for a lot of 3D printed parts.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool.
The only thing I agree with you, but the only thing I disagree with what you said is 3D printing adding value to design. It's working backwards.
Well,
Design is supposed to add value to 3D printing. That's why there's like entire organizations for DFAM.
Yeah, exactly. So it's...
But everything I heard did say none of this is possible without in situ metrology.
100%, yeah. Yeah, we can get into that another time.
I mean, we have so many times before.
I want to hear your article on not exoskeletons, skins.
Exoskins.
Exoskins.
So coming back to wearables.
Yep.
Not
smart wearables, just Oh, actually, I'm mistaken. We're talking about smart wearables here.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of smart. I'd say it's smart. Company. So first off, I love Tech Trends. Sent me this article. Rather, I searched what's new today.
Right.
And I got this article, Motor Skins, which is the name of the company, the material that's changing people's lives.
Cool.
It was like, great,
Yeah.
Okay, another startup that thinks they can change the world. I don't know if they're a startup or not, but I'm a fan of this technology. But the website that posted this news, amazing name. It's called designwanted.com.
That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Really long-winded article. Glad I used AI to summarize it for me. Anyway, Motor Skins, the metamaterial that's changing people's lives. Since we've talked about wearables and we've talked about metamaterial, this is a perfect segue. The lenses. Transitions, lenses, metamaterial for the wearables, the glasses. Anyway, imagine, I'm going to try to keep this short, but like the Motor Skins company is basically making a wearable wrap that delivers or that produces exoskeleton like performance. Cool. So where we've seen, in Aliens, the Power Loader 5000 by Caterpillar,
right.
And in real life we've seen like the Hilti exoskeletons for holding up heavy power tools for long periods of time without, permanently damaging your body. Mm-hmm. So you'll actually be able to lift your arms up when you're 80. Now this Motor Skins wants to do exoskin like performance for you, but in a wrap, something that you wrap around or put on like clothes.
Sure. So
and
it's very close. It's not big bulky equipment, right?
Yeah, and they're not focusing right now on increasing performance of like a construction worker.
Okay.
They're focusing on helping people with disabilities or injuries.
That's interesting.
And so like immediately what I thought of was how cool would it be like you break it wouldn't be cool to break your arm.
Sure.
But like if you got like a broken arm or a sprained ankle and the doctor applies a splint to it, instead of just holding everything in place so your body can heal, it holds everything in place and performs like nothing ever happened to you without having your muscles put any work forward. Yeah. So it replaces your muscles, allowing your body to heal and bones to mend. And then once it's all done, then you take the stuff off. But while it's healing, they're not stressed at all because the exoskin wrap is doing all of the work for you. Yeah. It's an unbelievable concept. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about how far along the technology is, but listen, transitions came a long way, and I'm super pro transitions right now. So
I do have two observations. I want to throw back to a video game called Crysis, where that looks exactly like the character. So if you ever played that game, we briefly talked about how that's still a benchmarking utility.
When did that game come out?
Like 1 billion years ago.
And computers still can't run it. So maybe that's foreshadowing for this. I hope not. Motor Skins, please be successful.
And the second part is I feel like this is a continuing discussion of soft robotics, where it's you're energizing system through other means, where I feel like this is a very interesting application where, we're heavily like all the companies you mentioned were heavily focused on the workforce, but there's a whole other group of temporary like needs for those injured body parts. How do you keep someone functional during that time? Which is, to be fair, sitting on a couch sounds cool at first until you got that itch on your leg and you're trying to scratch it with a ruler and you got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So being able to stay mobile and say useful during an injured time is surprisingly
or until
beneficial.
you realize that that time sitting on the couch cutting into your paid time off, stuff like that.
Steve, question for you. We're running a little bit long on time.
Okay.
I would like to skip my article on future of work, upskilling workers
I'm
to
sorry.
the next time. But I really want the energy you're going to bring to talk about your last article.
Okay, I'm really excited about this last article, and only you and I are going to be excited about it, and we're about to lose all of our listeners. So goodbye now. But if you want to stay on, good for you. My last article is from Canadian Metalworking.
The best kind of metalworking.
I love the Canadians. Don't necessarily agree with their politics, but man, I love them when it comes to manufacturing.
Sure.
So Canadian Metalworking, how much machining power do you need?
Very good question.
It's the title of the article.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, we're going to talk about because immediately I thought, well, when we bought our test bed, when we bought the Pocket NC, I knew we didn't need a 5-axis machine, but I wanted one. Yeah. I thought we were going to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Click on the link, read the short article, the nice brief article. Saw some physics equations, and I was like, yes!
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this was a thing.
Yep. Oh,
and
it's huge.
I didn't, okay, so in the American manufacturing society,
right,
everybody's like, everybody needs to strive for 80% OEE, overall equipment efficiency.
Sure.
We really want 100%. We want all of our machines 100% uptime, running all of the time, and at maximum spindle speed.
Sure.
Max performance all the time. And I never stopped to think about, wait a minute, in a job shop or factory, if all of the machines, assuming they're all spindle CNC machines, if all the machines are running at the same time,
right,
with their spindle at 100% capacity, and chip load, or machine load at 100% capacity, can the facility not just the facility, can infrastructure actually handle that? Can you run that? Can a factory run at 100%, full 100%, without lying, actually running at 100%? Without destroying the power grid? Is this why Texas keeps losing power? Because people are actually trying this?
So that is a very good question. And so backing up a little bit, the Department of Energy does have a couple of manufacturing institutes looking at that problem specifically of the quantity of energy used by sectors. So manufacturing, obviously, it's one of the biggest ones that's consuming energy. So the global scale, like you mentioned, if everyone's running max power, full power capacity, it's probably not the best condition. It depends on how the system was developed too, and how old the facility is.
Yeah.
But that's at the big level. If you look down to, we used to use form cutters a lot, and since you're cutting the full form, you're pulling a full load on your machine.
Okay.
So being able to calculate how much of a load is required to cut or horsepower required to cut that form versus the capability. I remember when I was running a twin spindle once, and we had reground cutters, so it had more clearance in between the teeth. To allow for better chip evacuation, which is a big problem with form cutters. I didn't do that the first time I was running the machine, and I definitely overloaded the machine. I saw the power capability go 100%, 110%. My manager came over and said, Ben, that's not good. So then we took a second. It's the chips weren't being evacuated. They were clogging in the cutter.
Okay.
Once I put the regrounds in, then it was 10, 15%.
Yeah.
So, to your point of at the detail level of how much power do I need to cut this form versus at the infrastructure level, there's a lot of questions on manufacturing energy usage.
Like today, reading this article, I learned about that there's a thing called K factor and how to calculate your K factor. Enter your chip load, your spindle speed, your feed rate, and you'll get a K factor of the move, the pass that you're making on your part, and how much power is required for that. And it's just fascinating. And it's always nice being able to feel like I'm in school again, even though don't ever send me back to school. But just being reacquainted with some physics equations felt really good.
And I think the the takeaway is, as some manufacturers are moving towards an independent power distribution. So a couple of our members have solar panels on their machine, so they've gone to independent electricity generation. So they're not relying on the power grid; they're relying on generating their own power. So for them to understand how much power I need and how many solar panels do I need, how many batteries can I support, and things like that, I think as more manufacturers shift to turbines, water, or solar panels, energy consumption is going to be more of a topic in the U.S. Now, in Europe, it's been discussed a long time because the cost of energy is so high.
Yeah. Can we please have nuclear?
I mean, yeah, I'd like it. Microgridding. That's where everyone's going. Steve, that's a great way to end the episode.
This was fun.
Can you tell people how to find more info about us?
amtonline.org/resources.
Well done.
That's it, right?
That's it.
I do this every time, and I forgot today.
Do you want me to write it down for you?
No. I'm just got equations on my mind right now.
Nice.
Not URLs.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.